Yeah, I've heard from many of scientists in Massachusetts that they first got interested in when they were taken over to the Boston Museum of Science when they were kids, or over to the Boston Aquarium when they were kids, and they were kind of excited by the science that they saw there, and a kind of light bulb went off, and they said, let's think about that as a career. Can we help to increase the diversity of our future science and engineering workforce by having more education outside of the classroom, so that we're, encouraging and inspiring kids? Dr. Claway?
Absolutely. So informal science education, which is what goes on in museums and after-school clubs and all kinds of other things, is an important component. However, it's most effective when it's actually tied, when it's combined with formal science education as well. So it's a great thing when a teacher will actually take her class on a field trip to the Boston Science Center and then come back and actually teach material that ties into what they experienced there.
Yeah, and it's kind of part of the modern era that we're in, that you have members of the Senate and House just kind of mocking basic research. Like it's not special. Why should we tease that out and just make sure that we keep that on the front burner? Who cares if the National Institutes of Health get cut 7% a year for 9 years in a row? Will that impact on finding the cure for Alzheimer's or heart disease? Or no, the private sector will go and do it anyway, even if there's no commercial likelihood that they're going to get a reward for doing it, huh? So why do we do this? We do it so that, we encourage the best and the brightest to go into these fields. You have to create a draw, so that they come over here, because they can use the same 800s in their boards to write an algorithm for a hedge fund that doesn't contribute one iota to the overall productivity or well-being of the planet, And they're equally drawn as they're going through their educational process over to this other early payoff financially a set of companies that will draw them away. So you need to have the basic research there for no other reason than you're going to draw the kids over there. Well, let me give one other practical example. Last year in the United States, we spent $131 billion on Alzheimer's patients. And the chairman and I, we both had personal experiences with this disease. $131 billion. The entire defense budget in our country is $600 billion. So Medicare and Medicaid paid $131 billion to some of the 5 million families that now have an Alzheimer's patient. Well, the baby boomers, when they're all retired, there's going to be 15 million baby boomers with Alzheimer's. So 131 times 3 is, pretty much $400 billion, 2/3 of the defense budget of our country for one disease, unless we find the cure, unless we draw the smartest kids in science and mathematics and into these fields to find the cure. And you just can't say, well, we're going to cut the budget every year for 9 years in a row, because now you're dooming our country to make it even impossible to ever balance the budget in the future, because you're not investing in those programs that are going to pay the big dividend for those families that dread that disease is going through their family, or Parkinson's, or heart disease, or diabetes, or you name it, And you have to believe we can do it, but you have to invest in the basic science, even though you don't know exactly where the payoff is. And that's why sequestration is the stupidest idea of all time, that it treats agriculture subsidies and finding the cure for Alzheimer's equally, that basic research is treated as though it's just another expendable, a commodity that the government really shouldn't be in, as though the private sector is going to do the basic research. They are not. We've learned this. And so, Mr. Chairman, I'll just end by saying this, that each year, for better or worse, we have Americans that win Nobel Prizes in science, and I get invited with my wife, to go to just the little reception, and I'm always in awe. And one year they asked one of the scientists, do you think we'll be able to compete against the Chinese and the Indians 30 years from now for Nobel Prizes? And the scientist said, we are here today, the 6 of us, because of an investment made 30 and 40 years ago in us. We do not yet know the wisdom of this generation. That generation had the wisdom to invest. And so that's what's in the balance here. This fight over how wise we are to make the investment in the kinds of science and technology that will continue to keep America cutting edge, but also make the changes that so profoundly affect Americans' families. We can't have a more important hearing than this, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for having it.
No, I mean, you've just spoken nothing